I have this ebony fretboard that's been slotted for a 28-inch scale with a 12-inch radius of curvature on it. I had to buy this one from a supplier because I don't have a template. I often slot all of my own fretboards, but you need a template in order to do that, and I don't have one for a 28-inch scale, so I bought this one. So the first thing I'm going to do is trim this so that it's tapered the right way. Of course, it's going to be narrower at the nut end than at the 12th fret and beyond. So first I'll taper that, and then I'll inlay some position markers. Okay, now I will mix up some epoxy and get these dots glued in. Okay, I'm just about ready to glue on the fretboard, but before I do, I'm going to drill a couple of holes so that I can have two alignment pins for when I have the glue on the fretboard. Sometimes due to the surface tension, once I put the glue on, as I clamp it, the fretboard tries to skate to one side or the other. So if I have these pins in, it can't go anywhere. I start by running the drill in reverse to just create a little indentation, and that prevents any chips from happening on the ebony. Okay, so the holes are right in a couple of the different fret slots. They'll never be seen. You can see they came through on the neck. And the pins that I use are actually just a couple of brad point nails. Okay, so these nails will go into the holes and keep the fretboard where it needs to be. The truss rod doesn't get glued in place. It's held by the tension on the neck from the strings. So it'll just sit in that slot, and now I'm ready to glue the fretboard. So over the years I've probably tried at least a dozen different ways of attaching a fretboard to a neck. Various kinds of clamps and cawls and vacuum pressing and just all kinds of different methods. And the one I've really settled on is just a simple giant rubber band to wrap around the neck. It distributes the clamping pressure more evenly than any other method. I never have any trouble with gaps anywhere along the fretboard, and it just seems like sometimes the simplest solution is the best solution, and this is one of those cases for me. So I'm mostly avoiding gluing right in the center because that's where the truss rod is. Fortunately, it has a plastic covering over it, so even if I do get some glue there, it's not going to affect the function of the rod in any way. And now, these pins come in very handy for aligning the fretboard in the first place. And now I am simply going to wrap the rubber band tightly around the fretboard in a crisscrossing pattern. And you can see as I do this, I start to get glue squeeze out on both sides of the fretboard. That tells me that I've got good clamping pressure everywhere. Okay, and that's it for the main part of the fretboard. Now I'm just going to put a clamp on this to hold the rubber band in place. And then for the upper part of the fretboard, I'm going to use a couple of clamps. I'll put one about midway. Make sure it catches the brace in there. Little cork pad there. There's a little bit of glue squeeze out over the soundboard. I'll wait 10 or 15 minutes till it kind of crusts over and then scrape that off with a chisel.